Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our recurring webinar series. We meet twice each month to talk about various topics connected to PTC Windchill, Creo, and the suite or suites of ETRAGE applications and solutions. Today, we'll be talking about Windchill package distribution for vendor communications. You'll hear from myself with a short introduction. I am Scott Rich, as well as our Senior Technical Lead for CAD Systems, Shei Shinbore. A brief agenda today. I'll cover a few introduction slides, then hand things off to Shei for a detailed introduction to the Windchill packages solution and a live demonstration, and help Shei close with some questions. A few housekeeping items. All of our attendees are in listen-only mode. We would love to hear from you with questions. You'll need to submit those through the question interface. You should see a tab for this in the upper left-hand part of your screen. We will answer everything that we can. Anything we're not able to get to, or if you find a way to stump us, we will certainly follow up with you within a day or so. A recording of this will be available usually within 24 hours. You can check back to our website or reach out to us and ask for a link to that recording. One other comment before we get started. This is essentially a repeat of our presentation at the 2025 PTC User Conference in New Orleans. We had a number of attendees there. We were all in a rush at the event, so we were asked to repeat that presentation and add a few more details based on feedback and questions we received there. So thanks again to all of those who gave us feedback in New Orleans and for joining us again today. A little bit about myself. I've been in this industry with PLM, Product Lifecycle Management, and the CAD space, especially in the PTC channel for the last 9 years. Shei has been more heavily on the CAD side of things and more recently moving towards CAD and PLM, but in the industry for the last 12 plus years. Who is ETRAGE? We have been around for more than 20 years. We are a PTC technology partner. Our focus is PLM adoption, which can take a number of different themes. Primarily, we focus on how do we solve end user adoption issues and what are the various things around systems and management of those systems to make those end users successful. On that note of PLM adoption, again, our goal is to enable enterprise-wide PLM adoption. We take a lot of feedback from our customer base to make Windchill work better for them, to make sure their end users get what they need. We put this graphic together to emphasize that we help you go through how the system is implemented and structured, what that architecture looks like. We work with you to see how that is all managed and work with you to get feedback you need from your end users to make their experience in PLM successful. Final slide that I will cover today before handing things off to Shei. We have a suite of products and solutions, mostly catered to PTC Windchill. Today, you'll hear about a couple of those products that we have developed in the last 20 years, namely the ETRAGE Viewer for Windchill and the ETRAGE Publisher for Windchill. And then on the services side, we've done a handful of things we'll highlight to customize Windchill to make it work for specific customer requirements. With that, I'll hand things off. You'll hear from Shei.
I will start off with a PowerPoint presentation about. I guess I'll continue along with Scott's PowerPoint presentation here, and then I'll jump into a live demo about packages. So first off, I will do a quick introduction to Windchill packages. Now, first off, this is the package module is one that usually does not get a lot of love in the Windchill space, and so this is one we chose to highlight. Now, first off, packages, they're on a very, very high level, an organized collection of objects. And so if you can think of it as more so from the context of within packages, you can have Windchill collect not only your CAD documents, but also any other Windchill documents associated with the CAD as well. So you could have your drawings, your parts, your assemblies, but you could also have any work instructions, or you could also have any manuals or technical specifications, or Word documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, all of those that go along with the CAD to describe use or function or assembly, right, of the CAD. All of those together, right, can be, as long as you're linked in Windchill, can be associated and collected together within a package. Now, why is it necessary, or why is it used? So usually, it's for data sharing and collaboration purposes, right? It's to ensure ultimately that the correct data set, right, being collected all together within Windchill, is seen by the correct person, right? And Windchill has, a slew of advanced features that enable, role-based access control, security labels, and many other features that ensure that the right person with the right access can see the right data. And then finally, you, with packages, you can control, for example, the version and revision or lifecycle state, right, of the data that is being shared. So that way, users get the ability to see up-to-date data, right, and you're not seeing out-of-date, data. Now, generally speaking, the traditional way of data sharing in many companies, or I guess the status quo, is usually through email, right? Usually, it's someone from packaging or from purchasing, for example, reaches out and says, hey, hey, engineering, I need the latest, BOM, or I need the latest, drawing of the latest released, product X that's coming out on the market. And usually then engineering goes in to PLM, finds all of the associated, objects that need to be collected together, and then, zip it up together, and it's typically email, right? Well, once that happens and it's emailed out, there's a whole bunch of issues that come into play, right? Some of them being, number one, version control issues. The documents in an email cannot be version controlled. So now, as soon as it's emailed out, who knows if that email is out of date, right? If there's a new revision to the contents of that email, that's never automatically updated, right? And so 2 weeks later, the purchasing person could be referencing an email that's now out of date versus the single source of truth, which is in PLM. There's also data security and integrity risks as well, where number one, copying all the correct data, but also number two, once that email is out, it could be forwarded to any number of people who may not even have the right access to see that particular data. Right? And all of that could then lead to, again, compliance violations, right? If I have someone from purchasing forwarding an email that should not get to the eyes of a particular user, but that user gets to see it, that could be a compliance violation. There's also, again, file size constraints on, what you can send through email, which, then can cause an IT infrastructure strain, right? Because again, your IT infrastructure, when it comes to emails, have limited bandwidth. So now, if you're sending bigger files, which are typically that's the case when you're dealing with CAD files, again, that could cause a strain on IT infrastructure, and on and on, right? And so there's a whole bunch of risks and issues that come with, sharing files and sharing engineering IP through email. But that's the status quo in a lot of companies today, and so that's one of the reasons why we're introducing or talking about Windchill packages, which is it's a functionality that's been in Windchill for a long time. It's nothing particularly new. It's just, again, we have customizations and solutions that help enhance usability. So with a Windchill package, what we're doing first off is you can, within Windchill, you can go ahead and create a package, right? And then add content to that package. So you can select any primary objects and collect any associated documents that are either required dependents, for example, plus any documents and things like that they need to describe, right, those EPM documents in Windchill. So you can create the package, add all the contents together, and then you establish the package contents. And typically that would include, applying any filters on what kind of data should be excluded or included, or also including and excluding certain file types that you don't want to have in the package, or also specifying, maybe a release or a lifecycle state of objects that should be included in the package. Once all that is done, you can then lock the package, and locking the package means that the contents of that package can no longer be modified, and so essentially no additional files can be added or removed from that package. And then once it's locked, you can then go ahead and create a delivery. And a delivery, you can think of it as, if you think of a package as your typical, Amazon box or shipping box, locking it is essentially like putting tape over the box, right? And that's where and then after you lock it, you can then create a delivery, right? And the delivery is where you can then specify who you're going to send the package to within Windchill, and this could be an internal or an external, user. So they're within departments of the same company, or you could share this, to an external vendor or supplier or partner. And so, and part of the sending includes then zipping up the package contents, and Windchill automates that process, and then finally then sending out the package. And once it's sent, on the recipient's end, when they receive the package, they have to then click a link to verify that they received the package, and then they can see the package contents and then consume them from there. All right. So at this point, I'll pause right here, and we'll dive into some live demonstrations. And there's going to be 3 different demonstrations you'll see. The first is going to be the out-of-the-box Windchill package creation process. And then we'll show you 2 additional demonstrations, one involving a custom subtype that we created in Windchill to improve that out-of-the-box package creation process. And then another where we tie the package creation process to a custom promotion request approval process. So I'll pause the slides for a moment here, and we'll dive right into a live demo here. So in this case, I'll start off with this particular model over here, the supporting fixture drawing, and I'm going to go add that to a package. Now, first, I will create a new package, and I'll give this a name. Oh. Now, as part of the default, out of the box package creation, by the way, I should mention, I'll just hit new package again just so you can see this over here. There are 3 different package subtypes. The default is the package or the technical data package. Those are the first 2 that come out of the box. Right? So the one I just did earlier, I just did it with the default package. The next example I'll show will be with the vendor's package, and this is a custom subtype that we added. But for right now, we'll just go ahead and use this package 50 over here, which is already created with the package subtype. Now I'll go ahead and configure what objects should be collected in this package. So first off, I'm telling it here, it's going to go grab all dependents, right? So that's by default, but I'll go and change this to say, I want it to also retrieve the latest released objects. Okay. Now, of course, I don't specify to apply this to the initially selected objects, because then I wouldn't know where we started from if those objects were not released. But in this case, I'll say OK. Now from here, I can go ahead and preview the collection of what it's going to collect. So even though I only have one object that's initially selected, I can preview the collection and to see, in this case here, OK, it's going to collect all these other objects that are all dependents and also meet the rules of being released as well. Let's just data that. Now the package has been created. Now I'll switch tabs over here just because it's a little easier, but on the Windchill homepage, there's one of the menus you have is the ability to see packages. And so this is my supporting fixture package that's already created, and I can select in that. And first off, it'll have information about the package, who was created by, who was modified by, and any other information in there. And then the package content as well. Because the content is currently not locked, I can go in and remove certain objects from the package contents, or I can go in and add other contents to the package as well. Next, I'll need to lock the package, and so to do that, lock and generally speaking, you're locking when you're locking a package, typically you want to exclude any native file, CAD formats or files. All right. So particularly if you think about something that you're sending to external vendors or partners, where you don't want them to have your CAD native files, right? But you want them to have any maybe 3D equivalents that are CAD neutral. So for example, maybe instead of sending them the raw step file, they receive instead of sending them the raw PRT or ASM file, they receive a step file instead. And so in this case here, we're going to exclude the raw CAD natives from being included in the package. It's just the default best practice. Now that the package is locked, you'll notice I no longer have any actions to add or remove objects from this package. All those are now locked, are now removed from me. Now, because it's locked, I can now go on to the next step, which is going to be here to create a delivery. Now, I can create a delivery, and this is essentially specifying who the package is going to be sent to. And in this case, we specify a recipient, and usually that recipient will have to be a user within Windchill. So I'll go in here and select the user. In this case, I'll pick Penny from purchasing, and it'll automatically fill in, the details as well. I could add any additional information, like instructions and things like that, or even modify the subject line as well. Next, I can also set the sender, which in this case defaults to my login, which is I'm logging as org admin. Or if I want to send this on behalf of another user, I can specify that user in the sender box as well. All right. So now the delivery has been created in here. Now next is I'll then have to go in and have Windchill zip up an attachment of all the package contents into a zip file. In order to do that, I have to go in here and specify for Windchill to zip the package for delivery. Now there's a couple options in here about whether you want to export only or export to a PTC Windchill, and this would be if you wanted to package contents and export this to be opened and consumed into another Windchill installation. So in this case, I'll just do the export only. And so now Windchill says your package zip is in progress, and it's going to go ahead and start processing to zip up the package. Now, typically that takes a couple of minutes here or there, but for the sake of time on the webinar, I'll jump to another package that has already been zipped up, right, just so that we can see what the contents are. By the way, I should mention, once it's zipped up, you can then go ahead and hit actions and then hit send package, and then that sends that email to the recipient. And once they receive it, they'll click a link, and when they select that link, they'll have to log into Windchill, so that way Windchill knows who is clicking this link, right, and their role. And then from there, they can then hit the option to receive delivery. So again, that's how Windchill knows it was received by a certain person, and there's the role-based control tracking that way. Now, for my purposes here, in the sake of time for the webinar, I'll just go ahead and download the package where the files have already been zipped. And if I download this over here and I'll open it up, the contents will look like this and there's going to be an index.htm, and that browses any of the other folders in here. When I open this index or this HTML page, it's going to open up and look something similar to this. Now, in this case over here, I can browse by model structure contents, or I can show by all contents. So, for example, I can say I want to see all the items in here versus I only just want to see the model structure or essentially in this case the BOM, right? So the BOM versus all contents of the package. Okay, I can switch between either one. So I can go to an information page. I can see a preview or a thumbnail of any of the items in there. Now, in order to isolate this as a raw PDF, for example, in this case, this is as a drawing. Typically, that's a deliverable that a lot of users are typically used to in terms of delivering drawings of engineering objects. I'll have to download the PVC file and then open that in Creo View. And when you open it in Creo View, PVC file opens up, and then have to go select on the Viewable tab, supporting fixture, and then right-click and say I want to open this in an external application. Right? And so then that opens up in whatever external application of your choice. In this case, I have Adobe. It opened up on the other screen, so I just moved it over. So now from here within Adobe, I can now go ahead and hit File and then save as and save it as a PDF on my computer. And so there's that kind of shows the end-to-end process, right, of getting a package, creating a package, sending it, collecting all the objects, and then the recipient consuming the contents of that package. And as you can see, there are a lot of clicks, and there's a ton of benefits, right? But there's also some friction in terms of the usability, in terms of there being a lot of clicks, and also, good luck having a supplier, who does not know or use Windchill as much, be able to navigate the Windchill UI and be able to, sort, and then also, use Creo View and then getting the PVC file and having to extract the PDF from there. So there's some friction in there, and so that's why we created some custom solutions to help automate, smooth away some of those friction points. So that's going to be the next focus of the demo here. I'll show this case other subtype creation here. So I will again quickly go create a package. Add the package. Again, select I want a new package, and in this case, I'll pick the vendor's package as a subtype. Okay. I'll give it a name. Now for this particular case, I will not specify any default rules to configure. I'll just go ahead and click OK. Now, when I go back to my home page, I'll see that package is created for me. Now, there's also, in this case, though, a task created in my tasks page to submit that package. Now, while I submit that, I'll go ahead and narrate through this here. That is because this particular subtype is also behind the scenes attached to has a workflow attached to it, and that workflow has certain steps or actions that need to be completed before the package can be created and also then sent. Now, in this particular example here, part of the workflow it describes that only released objects should be included in that package. And so there's a task that shows up on the screen that says, hold on, you need to resolve this package because there's all these objects that are not yet released. And so I cannot add them to the package. So I need to go back and now typically you would do a promotion request to release those objects. In this particular example here, for sake of time and being on the webinar, I'll just do a set state and move these all to a released state. Okay. All right, so now they're all released, so I can go over here in this task and complete the task. So now when I do another refresh, it moves past that resolve task because that's all being completed. And so now I have to go ahead and approve the package and deploy it and then finally send it out. Go ahead and refresh one last time. Now you'll notice the package is no other tasks in my task pane. That package, cover assembly 1000, is now locked automatically, right? And also now released. So again, these are all of those functions are now automatically handled by just that custom package subtype that we created, right? So again, this is one way of us customizing Windchill to accommodate many of your business processes to ensure that your users can still do the same actions, but again with much less friction. Now, in this particular package here, if I take a look at the deliveries, there's no deliveries in here. Can part of this customization include creating deliveries and sending it out? Yes. But in this particular example here, I did not do that because one of the other ways that I'll show you here of how we can send out packages to be consumed is going to be through our ETRAGE viewer. Now, we have a custom a listener within Windchill that we can install, and that always listens in for any Windchill system actions. One of those being released objects that are created, and then we go ahead and create viewables and deliverables of those. So in this case here, that's why we released the package. So that way, when I take a look at our ETRAGE publisher listener on the Windchill side, I can select system requests and go take a look at what system requests have come up, and tell you here that okay, this cover assembly 1000 package that's been created, right, that's in queue to be published and sent to our viewer. Currently, it's not started yet. We typically, I think our listener, again, it's highly configurable, but in this particular example here, we'll be listening for every, I think, 30 seconds or a minute or so, and then if there's any new jobs in queue, we go ahead and start processing those. And you can also status them by priority as well. So the higher priority jobs get pushed out first before the lower priority ones. So if I go ahead and just do a quick refresh here, yeah, it's still not yet, I guess about 30 seconds or so, but it'll start, very soon and start publishing those to send it to the viewer. So again, in the interest of time on this webinar, I'll go ahead and dive into the some finished, content here. So once that is published and sent to our ETRAGE viewer, this is the UI where a user can come in and see and access that data. Now, the first thing I will mention is that the ETRAGE viewer is has a lot of access control policies built into it as well. Right? In terms of you can set up users manually, or you can connect them to your company LDAP. Right? They all have to have a username and password to log into the ETRAGE viewer. There are permissions that you can create for different user groups and then apply those permissions to different users. You can also configure by, you can add security labels, right? And so if there's any security labels as to, who can view what content from within Windchill, we can see that and then also apply that in the viewer as well. So that way, again, the right person gets access and sees the right data. If I'm taking a look at, say, for example, here the permissions, I can also create the permissions by as granular as who can see what context, right, and also what lifecycle stage can they see, and also what file formats can they see as well. And so again, if I have someone from purchasing who really only cares about PDF drawings, then I can just give them the ability to see those. Versus if I have someone from quality, for example, who may want to retrieve the raw native PRT file, so that way you can import that into his inspection program in order to do an inspection versus CAD. I can give them the ability to see that as well, right? And so you can get to config. It's highly configurable in terms of which role gets to see what data in the viewer. You can also configure, in this case, to specify, I think part of the default is if any objects have been created within a certain amount of time. In this case, the default is, I think, the last 5 days. You can show those in the home page. So in this particular case here, I'll click on the home page. If I had anything published in that length of time, it'll say that in here for me. And I don't have any of that, so I'll just go ahead and now I can search manually, right, and add specify search criteria. But in this case, I'll just give it no search criteria, and it'll just list out all the items in the database for me. Now, I'll search in this case, and I found a couple different examples here. This one particular package, this is the package of all those components that I already selected within Windchill that have been published and then sent to the ETRAGE viewer for consumption. I can verify those contents, right? Again, it's the cover 1000 assembly. So there's plate, the arm, weldment. There's also the cover in here as well. Yeah. And if I want to retrieve all of this, it's as easy as selecting that viewables link and downloading that zip file. When it opens up, if I select on that, I can see immediately the raw PDFs already extracted for me. So again, if I'm someone in purchasing, I want to send these out to a supplier for quoting. I don't need to open up Creo View and then move to the right tab, right click, and do a whole bunch of additional steps just to get to a PDF. Right? It's already extracted out for me here. So this is one solution, and then the second solution I'll show in the demo here. That's going to be a little quicker. That's going to be over here on our light bulb. Now, for this particular assembly here, I'm going to take the light pole assembly, and we'll go ahead and do a quick change to that, and we'll do a promotion request, right? To get it to be released, we'll make sure that we show how you can use the Windchill, promotion request process, which is again part of your typical business process. It's something that almost everyone does every time, right? But yet we can use that to tie the package creation process to that as well. So in this particular case here, I'll just quickly tweak these back to in work, and I'll go ahead and then I'll set the state back again. Okay, wonderful. So now I will my light pole, and in this particular case, I will say I want to do a new promotion request, right, from in work. Now again, I did not have to set them from release back to in work. That's just because that was what the data in this particular system was at the time. In this particular case here, I'm going to do a new promotion request. I will specify I want to use, I'll apply the default collection, and I'll go collect the object. So again, I'll pull off the collector, and I can go ahead and specify and add any additional objects to the collector. I have those, and we'll uncheck that box and then specify the target state. What's going to be moving to that target state, and then apply that to all the objects that will be moving to the target state. And then in this particular case here, we have a custom approval process we created that attaches here to the promotion request. And in this case, I'll specify who the approvers and the reviewers are going to be. In this case, I'll just use my own user, but again, I could select any other members of the team as well. Is that all right? Now we'll go back to the Windchill homepage, and now you'll notice I have two tasks created for me in terms of reviewing and approving the promotion request. So I will go ahead and complete that, and also then approving the promotion list as well. And of course, this would take way more time than is shown in this webinar here, but for sake of time, I'll go ahead and on those. And you'll notice as soon as I'm done with those tasks, right, a new package appears. My packages window. In this case, the light and the package name is by default the name of the objects within the package. If I go ahead and again do a quick refresh, you'll notice the package is now locked and released. I click on the info button over here. I can show the package contents. Again, are all the items that I selected as part of the promotion request approval process. Now, all of that gets pushed into the ETRAGE viewer, right? And I can take a look at a package here that has all that data already published. And you'll notice in this case, the package contents are the same as what you saw within Windchill. Now, any user can come into the ETRAGE viewer, that anyone that has access to the viewer can come in here, log in, and then click and download the viewable of all the items within that package, and be able to see any PDFs and or any other deliverables that need to be consumed by them as well. And just taking a second here, but once that's done, you'll notice in this case I have all those again PDFs, isolated for me in this case. So all that being said, that's the full demo of how you can use packages within Windchill and the custom solutions we have for making that process much more seamless. And so as a whole, I'll summarize by saying, well, why use Windchill packages, right? So number one is the fact that this can help alleviate any version control issues, right? There's issues around data security, data integrity, and compliance violations, and many other issues that traditionally many companies will face when you're using sharing engineering IP or data by email. Right? But also, the reality is the out-of-the-box Windchill package functionality is maybe not the most user-friendly, right? And that's why we have the reason why you'd work with us to ensure that number one, we can automate some of that process and many other business processes beyond just package creation as well. So we have highly skilled experts that can help you with Windchill customization to automate many of your business processes, right? And also we have custom solutions like the ETRAGE publisher and viewer that can help take any PLM data right from within Windchill, consume that into the viewer, and then have other downstream departments in your organization, purchasing, quality, manufacturing, even external vendors and suppliers, be able to log into that, and that becomes then the one-stop shop for them to see and consume that data without having to log in to full Windchill and be presented with the intricacies of a Windchill interface. So all that being said, it's time for some questions. So I'll pause here and Scott, it seems like you have some questions already to be received from other other attendees. But I don't know if you have any other questions on the webinar as well. So.
Yep, we have some that we gathered in advance here, but first from the Q&A tab. And again, all attendees, feel free to continue to submit questions to that Q&A tab in the upper left part of your screen. First one, do I need a Windchill license to see packages in the ETRAGE viewer?
Oh, brilliant question. So for that the answer is no, no. And so if you were going to use the package functionality within Windchill, number one, that package functionality, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, is completely, it's part of the base package of Windchill. So to call it Windchill PDM Essentials or whatever, the package functionality comes included in that. So it's not anything extra that's upcharged for. But any users within Windchill, you'll have to pay essentially per user. But if you're going to use the ETRAGE viewer as the portal to consume the data, then no, you do not have to pay to add those users to your Windchill. Yeah, all you just do is get the ETRAGE viewer, and we essentially, allow unlimited access to all users in your organization. But yeah, great question.
Very good. Now, going to some of our questions we already gathered. Which ETRAGE applications did you present as part of today's demonstration on the webinar?
Yeah, great question. So for me, I used the two main ones. The first one was the ETRAGE publisher, and that's, again, like I said, what listens within Windchill for any systems created or user created actions, and then goes ahead and publishes the data as configured. And then there's also the ETRAGE viewer as well, which is the end portal that allows for really anyone in your organization to go in and consume the data that's published from the publisher as well. And yeah, and in addition to that, again, we also demonstrated many other custom solutions that we developed that are not necessarily productized, but again, we can work with you to understand your Windchill installation as is, and then your business processes, and then how we can customize Windchill to suit your business processes and make your life a lot easier.
Thank you very much. Next question, if someone wants to set up and implement Windchill packages on Windchill, are there any advanced Windchill modules required or that would need to be purchased in order to implement Windchill packages?
No, no. The answer to that is no. I think that's what I mentioned earlier as well. Yes, this is something that comes with the most basic Windchill license you have. And so there's nothing additional that needs to be purchased as an advanced module, quote unquote, that comes with package. No.
Very good. Next, is there any sort of danger that my vendors would be able to create, edit, or change data that you have stored in Windchill if you have shared a package with them?
Question again. So that I would say no. The answer to that is no. So the way the data flow would work, once you send the data within the package to the vendor, there's no ability for them to modify the contents and or change that data and yet have it be impacted within your Windchill system. And so no, there's no ability for the vendors to change the data that you have stored in your Windchill.
Would it be accurate, follow up on that, it's accurate to say that Windchill package has been locked down, plus there's a wall that, they don't have access to your Windchill environment through that package either.
Correct.
Very good. Last question for now, unless something comes up in the next moment. Do vendors need a Windchill license for Windchill packages if they don't go with the ETRAGE software solution for packages?
Oh yeah. So if you do not go with an ETRAGE solution, then yes, you will need. If you want to use a package solution and functionality, then yes, you will need a Windchill license for any users that will be seeing and consuming.
We might have a follow up on that, but it's something that's come up a couple of times in our customer visits that has that option. With that, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time with our next ETRAGE webinar presentation.